or a minute to let everybody file in to the webinar.
Hey everyone, welcome. It's good to see you. It's really Evelyn. It's really Evelyn. We found her. She has joined us.
Yay, so thankful to have you both here with us tonight. So yeah, we're just gonna let everyone file in. Andrew, Evelyn, you look great. Glad to have you.
Oh,
did you just,
so something happened to Erica. So I guess Evelyn and I will pick up.
Oh, I was muted, oops. All right, everyone, thank you so much for being here. We're just gonna let everyone file in. We've got a lot of people coming to this event tonight. It's our grassroots event this evening with Evelyn and Andrew. We're gonna ask them anything. So yeah, thanks for being here. Just shout out to Twitter and Twitch and Facebook and wherever it is that you're tuning in. So excited to be here tonight in this grassroots event. I think we've got maximum capacity right now. Would you like to get started, Andrew?
Of course. Hey, Erica. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. So pumped. Thank you to my incredible wife, Evelyn. Let's give her a round of applause. Yay. Can we hear it? I don't know, because I guess there's like, well, we can sense the enthusiasm through the chat, among other means. So happy to have you all here today. It's been a big day for the campaign. We qualified officially for city matching funds. Yay. Now, nothing's a sure thing. And, you know, when you have something at like city matching program, we were very, very confident. And thrilled that we got, I think something like $3.7 million in matching funds that we are going to treasure. And
thanks to you guys.
Yeah, thanks to you guys. So thank you so much. We also found out where I'm listed on the mayoral ballot, and I am last in terms of like it's like if it were alphabetical, you know how Yang ends up at the bottom.
But it's not alphabetical. It was random.
Yes, but it's not alphabetical. It was random.
I think that's a good position to be.
I agree.
At the very top or at the very bottom, and not sandwiched somewhere in between.
And the science bears that out because everyone is very, very, very wise. So it turns out, not shockingly, the best place to be is in first position. But then last actually is perfectly normal. It's acceptable. The place you don't want to be is right in the middle, because people have a harder time picking out your name. So we'll take last in this case. Yay, last! Yay. So those were positive developments for today. Some other good stuff happened today. Good stuff happens every day here on the mayoral campaign. And I have to say, this race is now in the third quarter. What I mean by that is June 22nd is the primary, but early voting starts 10 days earlier on June 12th. So how many days is that from now? Something like 58?
58?
58 until early voting starts? I think that's right. Yeah, that's right.
58
days until early voting starts. That's like this, am I right? It's like 8 weeks from now, and then people can actually vote in this election. And you know we're going to go bananas in that 10 days where it'll be like, hey, have you voted? Have you voted? And I think this should play to our strengths as a campaign. But it's right now. I mean, this is not quite the home stretch, but it's right ahead of the home stretch.
Absolutely. Hey, I just want to do a quick shout out. We have a couple shout outs for people. Lynn from New York for donating.
Thank you.
Yay. Thank you. I just wanted to remind everyone that this is a fundraiser, and when you are ready to donate, you can go to yforny.com/donate and send in some money. I think on our live stream, you can see a progress bar. We have a goal to meet. So send in, click.
Emoji running? Is it one of those?
I don't think we have the emoji this time.
Oh, I love it.
So Erica, fire away with a question. Let's get some questions in.
All right, let's get some questions here.
So fun. So thanks for having me back.
I'm so glad you're back, and I am going to get you some questions. Yay! Okay, so make sure, people, that you put your questions in the chat so that we can get these asked. Okay, so Yael asks, do you feel that the lack of in-person schooling this year has caused harm to the city's children. As mayor, what would your plan be to ensure that our children are back in school this fall in person 5 days a week?
Oh, I really like where Yael's coming from. I do think that our kids have suffered by not being in in-person school this year. Here are a couple of facts. Studies have shown that remote schooling is 30 to 70% less effective than in-person schooling. So if you think remote school sucks, you are generally correct. Number two, the majority of New York City school children are not back in school now. I talked to a high school teacher whose school is theoretically open, but he said that he has about 5 kids in his classroom, and then he's teaching something like 30 remotely from inside the school. Like, he's literally, imagine being in a classroom, like, you know, like teaching people remotely. So we have to change this, and I'm committed to get kids back in the classroom as quickly as possible. I certainly hope that this is happening before January when I take office, but it might not be. And I do also want to comment very quickly that the opt-in rate among families has been different among different groups. White and Latino families have been more likely to bring their kids back to school than Black and Asian parents. So what that says to me is that we have a lot of work to do with certain communities that are either doubtful or stressed or mistrustful. Like, we have to do a better job. But I think that kids should be in classrooms 5 days a week.
Yeah, just to comment on our personal experience, our kids recently went back to school full time. And, you know, last year when they went fully remote, it was awful. Like, I think for most people, it was just awful because it was brand new. It was all of a sudden. And, you know, the kids have a really hard time adapting from like in person to just purely screens. But over the course of a year, we, like, I think most other families, you know, did our best to adapt. And we settled into a certain routine. And we actually were like, oh, we're getting the hang of this, you know? And the kids were kind of like, this is great. We can just be on our laptops and screens like all day. And we were kind of like, oh, maybe this isn't so bad. But it was such a, you know, when they actually went back in physically, it was just so refreshing to see the change and realize, okay, that was really not the ideal situation. I mean, of course, we all understand it needed to be what it was. And we were all trying our best. But it's just having them back there and seeing the difference in their, even this very short period, their social emotional growth and all of that made me realize, like, wow, this is, this should be the goal here, to get everyone back in school.
Yes, I think we have some shout outs. Don, Kel, Marshall, Helen, and Matthew, thank you so much for donating.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask Evelyn a question that maybe some of you, might have noticed. So Evelyn got the vaccine recently. Yay, the vaccine. So our vaccination profiles, I got the limited edition Johnson & Johnson one that has since been paused. And Evelyn got
the Moderna.
And so how have you been doing, baby?
You know, I have the typical side effects. I heard the side effects are actually worse for women than for men. So another great reason to be a woman. No. I was also signed up for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that same morning, and I was lucky to be able to like reschedule for a different vaccine. And I'm hoping that everyone that got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine are doing great, and that they're not having any issues, because, you know, with Andrew getting it, obviously we were just a little bit like, oh, wow. Oh yeah, you got the one that was recalled.
Also, check it out. I'm drinking water from a Yang for NY water bottle. You can
it's available.
It's available. And some of you know I had kidney stones recently, so I've been drinking a lot of water. and the people around me too are like, water? And I'm just like, don't mind if I do. And that's why I'm like, I must swill one of these like every hour to observe.
Yes, drinking water, very important. I have a question here that's specifically for Evelyn. Lori asks, what hair products does Evelyn use? Her hair is awesome. And I would agree. Very shiny.
Oh,
Good hair.
thank you. Thank you. You know, I use all kinds of products. But I think what I can't live without is dry shampoo. So I've used maybe like a dozen brands of dry shampoo, but I can't live without it. So cleans your hair and gives you volume at the same time.
Definitely have volume. Andrew, what hair products do you use?
Sorry, I'm just finishing a question to Linus.
Okay.
No problem. I'm doing some multi-channel action.
No one lost
my hair products.
No, that was kind of a joke, but okay.
Paul Mitchell tea tree shampoo. Yeah, that's pretty much all I use.
Wow, so specific. It's very.
I went to a stylist and they gave it to me and I liked it. I liked the way it smelled. I liked the way it felt. And I said, sure. It even felt a little bit Asian. Tea tree.
All right. Claudia asks, what is your faith tradition, if any, and how do you think about spirituality?
Ellen, would you like to kick off?
Sorry, what was that?
Your faith tradition.
Oh, I'm a Christian. I identify as a Christian. I sort of identify as a bad Christian.
No.
You know, I'm not very good about going to church regularly or, maybe most of the things I'm supposed to be doing. But yeah, I think that faith is really important, and I try to instill it in our kids.
Yeah,
I think that's one way where I'm excelling.
Oh yeah, it's so cute. The other day we were lounging around at night, and then one of our boys said, like, "Mom, can you say a prayer for the family?" And
I have them into prayer right now. Which I think is really awesome.
So for me, I was brought up in a secular household, but I'm very grateful to Evelyn and to her faith for the role it plays in our family. And I think that it's a tremendous source of strength for a lot of people, including our family and all of us.
Thank you. That's wonderful. I just want to remind everyone that we do have a goal. We're trying to hit 5K. So please donate. We're at $882 right now. So we need you to donate.
Shout out to Greg, Toby Chukwu, Josh, Joseph from Woodside, and Darby from Manhattan. Thank you. You all are tremendous.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
So I'm going to go through some of the campaign stuff, the finance stuff. So we are still in a phase where everything from a New York City resident gets matched 8-to-1 up to $250. So if you give $10, we get another 80 from the city. If you give $20, we get 160, et cetera, et cetera. You can do some math. Yeah. But so this will continue through not that long from now, honestly. And so we're pushing very hard to get New York City small donors. So if you're not in New York City and you donate, thank you. Still counts. If you're in New York City, it does have a little bit of extra oomph.
Spread the word.
Really grateful.
Tell your friends and family.
Yeah, tell your friends, like, hey, you might not think it makes a difference, but if you donate $10 to Yang, the city will give the campaign $80 more, and they'll be like, what? And then you'll be like, yeah, I know, trust me, because we still have a ways to go to reach the city matching limit, which is 800K, I believe, of small dollar donations, and then we get an 8-to-1 on top of that, so it's 6.4 million on top of that.
And at this point, am I right? Most likely voters are still undecided. So we have the most work to do right now in this period, reaching those voters. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Incredible.
Excellent point. We do have a lot of undecideds out there, so we got to stay busy. Bobby asks, do you have a position on the therapeutic use of mushrooms?
I am for the decriminalization of psilocybin mushrooms, in part because there are people that I know that have experienced very positive effects therapeutically. When I was running for president, there was a military veteran who swore that it was the only thing that saved his life. He said that he was suffering from trauma and tried everything under the sun, and then it was psilocybin mushrooms that stabilized him. And if you hear that story, you think to yourself, wow, we really should make this available to certain populations at a minimum. because there are people that it is really helped. And so I would explore that here in New York City, applying that. My administration would decriminalize psilocybin mushrooms.
Thanks, Andrew. I have a question here. Hayden asks, Evelyn, what did Andrew first tell you about his plans for running for mayor? What were your first questions or thoughts for him?
Well, it wasn't so much that he told me he was going to run for mayor. It was much more of a discussion. And, Andrew would not be running for mayor right now if it were not for this pandemic and all the suffering that we've seen throughout the city. I mean, months and months ago, before the pandemic hit even, people had raised the mayoral, the New York City mayoral race as sort of a possibility. And I think Andrew had always said, like, I'm not going to run just because I can win. It was always, for the both of us, of just making this decision was based on, just how much good we thought he could do.
We have a guest. It's a Christopher sighting.
Hi, Christopher.
Hey, little guy. What's going on? Mommy and Daddy are talking to some very nice people who are helping helping Daddy's campaign a whole lot.
Hi. I just wanted to do a shout out to Ching Jewel, who actually bought the bottle, Andrew.
What's that?
Ching Jewel bought a bottle. I just wanted to give that shout out.
And Ching made an incredible documentary about the Yang Gang that has won awards. I think you might have put a message in the chat. So grateful to you, Ching. You've been incredible since the presidential, and I thank you for it.
All right, I've got a couple more questions here. Sarah asks, what are your thoughts about the homeless who are more prevalent in the city than prior to the pandemic?
Sorry, I got distracted. What was that? Sorry, Erica.
I can read it again, no problem. What are your thoughts about the homeless who are more prevalent in the city than prior to the pandemic?
This is a major problem. And when I was in Jackson Heights the other day, there was a group of 4 homeless men who were not quite terrorizing the neighborhood, but not terrorizing the neighborhood. And they have called the authorities and not gotten the right level of response or help. I've committed to reducing the level of street homelessness by 50% or more in my first term. And I know it's doable because I've talked to the people and the workers and the organizations that are actually interfacing with the street homeless. And right now the standard just isn't right, where if someone does not say like, hey, take me to a shelter, then they stay on the street. But in the past, if someone was frankly in need of mental health resources or substance abuse resources or medical attention of some kind, or they're unresponsive, then we brought them to a hospital, stabilized them, in some cases gave them back whatever meds they might have been on, and then brought them to a better environment. And that's what we should be doing with the people who are homeless right now in New York City. That there's no need to accept it. It's just a policy and leadership failure, and a failure to invest in the right resources to help them. No one thinks they should be on the street, including them. You know what I mean? Like that. Like if they know there's like a better environment, like a safe haven bed or supportive housing, I believe we could help reduce this pretty quickly. I know we can reduce this pretty quickly because, again, I've talked to the organizations who are doing the work, and they say, look, if you do these things, we can reduce the number of street homeless pretty quickly. And I'm excited to do it because it's a human issue, it's an economic issue, and at the margins, it is a public safety issue. And the vast majority of homeless people are not, violent in the least or harmful, but like every once in a while, someone is mentally ill and does something really, really negative and harmful.
So I'm just going to say, if you like what you hear Andrew talking about, we need you to donate so that he could become the next mayor of New York so that we can solve these problems. That's what we need. We're at 2,066 right now. We've got a ways to go. Keep donating, folks. Keep donating. I got another question here. Paolo asks, what do you think can be done about the increased harassment and or violence against people of Asian background?
Obviously, this question is very personal to me and Evelyn. The elderly Asian woman who was beaten just 2 blocks from here, across the street from where our children play. And so I commented to people that could easily have been my mother or Evelyn's mother, because they also are elderly Asian women who walk that block and could have been attacked unprovoked. I'm going to share a story with you all that you know part of, but might not know the rest of. So a number of weeks ago when I was on the Staten Island ferry, a man with a stick attacked the photographer who was with us, and I intervened in that and de-escalated the situation quite quickly. The person was clearly mentally ill, but the police then talked to him, and he wasn't violent at that moment, and so then they let him go. And I'm not sure what the right move there was. Unfortunately, 3 weeks later, that man attacked an elderly Asian man on the subway, like the person who attacked the photographer. Now, if you see that, you think, well, you know, like this was a racist crime of anti-Asian violence, which it very well may have been. Though the photographer that this man attacked on the boat was white, and he was definitely mentally ill. And so a lot of the problems around anti-Asian violence, in my opinion, overlap with the mental health problems and the street homelessness problems. The number of psych beds in New York City has gone down by 14% over the last number of years, even as the needs have skyrocketed. Like if I tell you like the psych beds have gone down 14%, does anyone think that's because like people got healthier in New York City? Like, of course not. We just lost capacity. So there are things that we can do to try and help protect Asian Americans like from feeling like, you know, frankly, they're going to be attacked on the street of the subway. And I've now talked to, unfortunately, far too many Asian Americans who've been attacked unprovoked in these environments. The single best thing we can do is get help to the New Yorkers who are on our streets and struggling, who are frankly more prone to outbursts of violence that I do think disproportionately impact Asian Americans for whatever number of reasons. I think that, you know, they may be set off by someone who's different from them, or buy into some really terrible ideas out there, or frankly think that we're more vulnerable. And so, like, to me,
when that happened tonight, I said, oh, what, the guy just, where did he go? Where did he end up? And you said they just let him go. Do you remember? And I said, oh, he's going to do this to someone else. You know, and the problem is right now there's no like process or procedure.
Yeah.
When you encounter someone who's mentally ill.
Yeah, like, do I think the police should have thrown him in?
No.
Probably, like, no. But like, do I think that they should have brought him to a mental health professional who would like be able to treat him? Yes. Like, would he have willingly done so? Probably not. And so that's where the situation becomes really difficult. But in that case, you know, we have to do more than frankly wait for something.
Mental health treatment desirable in some way.
Oh, or in that instance, you know, like we almost certainly should have tried harder to get that man help. Not even, you know, frankly, like discretionary help, but like, hey, like, we'll let you go, but you need to come with us and see this person.
Right.
You know?
That's what I mean. But though there's no process or procedure for it right now.
Yes.
It's either I throw you in jail or I let you go back to the street.
Yes. Magdalena, Megan, and Aaron, thank you so much for the donations. They mean so much to me and the campaign. So some more fun facts. We have more donors than any other candidate in this race. I think the last number I saw had us like around 19,000 or so, like approaching 20,000. And what is the all-time record in a New York City mayoral race, Erica? Do you know?
I don't know what the number is for the top number of donations. Does anyone know that's on here? Let's find out.
I think it's around 23,000, Erica. So I don't know about the rest, but I sure would love to see us break that number. We're not that far from it. I mean, if we're at like 19,000, we're maybe 4,000 away. So let's get there. Wouldn't that be tremendous?
I think we do that.
We have how much time in this race? We have 8 weeks till voting starts or something like that. 8 weeks, 4,000. That's very doable.
We could definitely do it. We could start tonight. Donate tonight. If you haven't donated yet, you definitely need to donate tonight. I do have a couple more questions if you're ready for them.
Of course.
Hetty asks, what are the areas of criminal justice reform that you will focus on if you are mayor, and what will you bring to the mayor's office of criminal justice to ensure the proper funding is allocated to the various defender organizations?
It's a tremendous question. There's one area that I know is and there's so many that are under-resourced, but like the legal resources for immigrants and immigrants communities are far lower than they should be. And they run into all sorts of problems as a result. What I talked to a man who was coming out of jail. This is not quite to this question, but we need to do more for folks who are re-entering society or trying to reintegrate. He actually turned to me and said, like, "Hey, will you do more for people like me?" And I said, "Yes, I will." I would consider that an extended part of the criminal justice system because these are people that are exiting. Our goal should be to decriminalize poverty because we have many systems right now that unfortunately have made it so that folks who are awaiting trial or other circumstances that just simply can't pay the necessary fines or to be free are running afoul of our current criminal justice system. And the single biggest thing on tap really is to re-envision Rikers. And I think there was another question about what do I think about the 4 jail plan. So and this is one of the difficult things about what lies ahead is we need to get rid of Rikers in its current form. Like Rikers in its current form is not working at all, and it's incredibly expensive. Now the replacement of the 4 borough jails plan, I also think needs to be re-examined. And that plan was approved at a certain point, but everywhere I've gone, frankly, near those sites, there are a lot of people that don't feel like that is the right approach. So a lot of the issues in New York City are these kinds of issues where there's obviously no simple answer, like in that case. But I am confident that we can re-envision / frankly, completely get rid of the need for Rikers and do it in a way that doesn't involve the jails that are currently being presented that some people are very, very upset about. I know that sounds like we're somehow, doing magic of some kind, but I am confident. And I'm excited to get to work on finding ways that we can, frankly, replace Rikers with something that New Yorkers are excited about or happy about, or at least, frankly, not angry about.
Right.
Like maybe excited might be too strong a word, but at least like feel included and not up in arms about.
Yeah. It's a tough topic, so I'm going to lighten up the room a little with an easy question. Let's see, who is your favorite member of BTS? That question goes to both of you.
Wow.
This is from Shataz. He was asking.
Blackpink fans.
Would you rather talk about Blackpink? I think.
Blackpink.
We send each other Blackpink like
emojis and
emojis throughout the day.
So I'm going to reframe this question as who's your favorite member of Blackpink, and the answer Lisa.
Yeah.
She's the one that raps, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. I think leads that group truly. Like if they didn't have Lisa,
a great dancer.
Yeah, if they didn't have Lisa, they would still be fine. But like Lisa really elevates the whole thing. If people are watching this thing, like we have no idea what they're talking about, there's a documentary on Netflix called Blackpink, and it's
fascinating.
Though I will say that I think that our dedication to streaming services is about to diminish somewhat because we can go outside, we can get together. Like I've seen it all recently. I've been out and about. People are out. Subways are filling up. I've been to ball games. We're going to theaters. You can really feel it. It's around the corner. I've been saying that I think this is going to be the summer of love in New York City because there's so much energy, that people like have been sort of channeling in certain ways, but now I think it's about to come out and get people together outdoors.
Especially with everyone vaccinated. Get vaccinated if you haven't already.
Yeah.
It's opened up for now.
A couple of friends of mine have gone on post-vaccine dates. They said like, I'm vaccinated, you're vaccinated, let's get together. I said, oh, gosh, New York really is going to come back because if people are already doing the post-vaccine date stuff, then that's going to drive a lot of energy to New York City. So yeah, super pumped. Summer of love. That's my prediction.
I love that. Absolutely love that. We need that so much. All right, I have David says he wants to thank you for today's announcement on placard parking abuse, including the forged placards and moving enforcement beyond NYPD to both citizens and DOT. Did you want to do you have any comments further about that?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the parking placard issue. I was talking to Evelyn about it, and it's a kind of, frankly, like soft corruption that kind of can really mess with a culture over time. It opens the door to a lot of other things, and like there have been a lot of New Yorkers who are frustrated, but have kind of given up. And to some would be like, well, there are bigger issues at stake than cars parked in the wrong places, which is accurate, which is true. But I think this is such a perfect emblem for my administration, because everyone else who's running has many debts to people who frankly been enjoying their parking placards for a long time, and will be like, well, I'm not going to mess with the parking placards because these are my people. Like I've been saying, like, here, de Blasio gave I think over 10,000 placards out to people. So it's like a kind of party favor for mayors and city officials to be like, here, don't worry about like parking tickets or whatever the heck, like here. It's been taken to such an extreme, and I'm just the kind of person who can come in and say, look, let's just adopt a more modern technology. They have laminated placards right now that you can actually counterfeit easily. We're just going to put a digital sticker on the vehicle, can't be transferred to another vehicle. The Department of Transportation, you can just scan it. They know who you are, why your car is parked there, and then like we all go on with our lives. And it's only the kind of thing that, frankly, a candidate like me would be championing, because other people would be like, oh, I don't want to touch this because it's going to piss off all the people whose backs I need to scratch. And this is a more significant issue than you might think, because if you have an extra 40,000 cars parked in places they shouldn't be parked in New York City, like that causes problems. It could be the school zone, it could be blocking a bike lane, like there are a lot of issues. So I'm pumped about this policy because it's a very solvable problem, and it's right. Like it'll set a better tone too. Like city employees should be using public transportation if it's reasonable, and shouldn't just think like the city is their playground.
More shout outs.
Go ahead, baby.
You can't see.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you, Luther, Schwang, Miel, Kay, Nicholas, Bonso, and Rolf. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Woo! Let's get some more donations in here. We're at 2,600 right now. We'd love to get some more. That's
wow.
Great. I know. We're moving along. I have a really...
I'm very goal oriented. If I miss the goal, they won't have me back.
Do it for Evelyn.
Do it for Evelyn.
You've been so much more with Evelyn than
like Evelyn. She wasn't very
No one, baby. Everyone else can get lost.
I have a really fun question for you from Morgan. I'm curious of this one too. He's a scientist, or she, and recently found out that your parents are also scientists. Yay! Do you think being raised by scientists helped mold your worldview? And if so, how?
Great question.
So my father is a physicist. He got his PhD in physics, very nerdy. When I was a kid, I thought everyone's dad had a PhD, which is not right. My mother she got a master's in math and statistics. So not quite a scientist, but obviously very brainy. She went on to become an artist. Now, I would hesitate to say that I was raised in a certain way because my dad, frankly, was just kind of an introverted lab type. And so he would work in his lab all day, and then he would come home, and then it's not like he would talk to me a whole lot about either his work or the world. But I do think his brain wiring, frankly, did influence me and my brother just by who we are. Like my brother went on to get a PhD in clinical psychology and is now a professor. Being a professor is kind of the family business. I when I was young, I thought like maybe, but then I thought, no, I wouldn't be good at it. I wouldn't enjoy it as much. And so I decided to go, toward what I thought was the business world, though that ended up being very different. Oh my gosh, Yang from Oakland Gardens just donated $1,000. Thank you.
I was literally looking at the bar and I was like, oh my gosh, it jumped to 4,665. And that's because we got that donation. Thank you so much.
Not garden, Oakland Farm. I got to get the town name right. Thank you, Yang. You are a rock star, as is everyone here, as is everyone.
Yes, thank you all.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we got another donation.
Luther just
Wow.
donated $2,000.
Woo!
Yay, Luther!
I hope you live in New York City.
How easy it is to make us happy. All it takes is a significant donation. And then Evelyn and Andrew are like, well, I mean, it's genuinely very touching.
Right.
It's very invigorating.
Confetti. I don't know.
So exciting.
What kind of behavior would you like from us when you donate? We could be like, hey, kiss cam.
Yeah, like when people click on the glasses at a wedding. Yeah.
I get you. Dong.
I do have a question. Leslie asks, will you expand bike lanes throughout the city?
Oh, heck yes. I'm a cyclist myself, though not a cool one. I want to make very clear. I'm like a
Your
dad
dad's
commuter.
cool. Yeah.
I'm a dad
He's
commuter
like
one.
with
So
the
there's-
kid seat in the back.
So there's no shiny or like tight clothing involved. It's just like whatever. You know what I mean?
Wait, I have to interrupt. We have to celebrate because we hit the goal. We're beyond the goal. We're at $5,675.
Oh,
You know what this means? Our goal was too low. No, I'm kidding. Our goal is better than anyone can
Yes.
imagine.
you guys are the best.
Yay!
Yes. Thank you.
Amazing. So exciting.
I really do think, because I'm an operator, at least I try to be. The single biggest variable that I see in this race is going to be TV advertising down the stretch. And Scott and Eric each have, $8 or $9 million total to spend. Not all of it on TV, but a lot of it on TV. And so if we have a similar amount, I think we're going to win this race. That's the single biggest thing on my mind right now in terms of like what could move the needle. Because a new poll's out today, I think, that has me up by 13 points, which is quite significant. Thank you, yay.
But being in the lead comes with it.
Downsides,
Right. Well,
plus
yeah.
or minuses. Sure. I mean, I'll take it. I'd rather be the front runner than not the front runner. But
But it means all the ads will be like.
oh, the ads will be trashing me. It'll be like Andrew Yang.
Our kids aren't going to be watching any TV for the next 2 months.
Andrew Yang gave his dog away. Not right for New York. And then I'll be followed by like, this candidate, this candidate, leader, New Yorker. Anyway, sorry.
I think I might need to interrupt your on the fly ads here. Zach is asking, I study wildlife biology and I feel NYC could benefit from an urban ecologist. I always feel like politicians don't actually follow what biologists believe about the environment. What will you do to help?
I mean, I love the idea of an urban ecologist. I kind of think of New York City as an organism sometimes. You know what I mean? I sometimes think of the subways and bus lanes as like veins and like you're like a blood cell. Does anyone else think this stuff?
That's a really cool analogy. I've not thought of it like that.
You know what I mean? Like the subway's like a circulatory system.
Yeah,
and then
it
you're
brings
like
everyone like, and where all the I guess then we're all the blood cells.
Well, red blood cells carry oxygen.
Right.
Like that's what we're doing. We're like
Right.
carrying life. It's
Right.
like you get on the subway and you go to another place and then you carry life there. So I think of the city as an organism. It's also a system. I think having an urban ecologist would be tremendous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for the suggestion. I'm going to let you all know something. I don't talk about this that much either. I've got some ideas, but I want there to be a New York City X in a bunch of disciplines. I want there to be like a New York City urban ecologist. Well, I think we already have a poet laureate, but that's the kind of thing I'm thinking of. In addition to a poet laureate, maybe we should have a philosopher. Because New York City has all these things, and so all we have to do is like find someone, so much talent, so many interests. That we can identify someone and then like have them do really positive things on behalf of the city. So I want there to be like a whole bunch of things. I'll also say something. This is probably this is maybe newsworthy. I don't know. So the number of deputy mayors you have is somewhat flexible. Most deputy mayors run certain agencies, and that's relatively fixed. But there is some flexibility where you can have a deputy mayor of policy. You can have a deputy mayor of special projects or like or environment, and so I'd like to take advantage of that. I like the idea of having people with different domains of responsibility that are somewhat, so they're like very, very different types of roles. Check it out. If you run an agency, that's like an enormous amount of responsibility and some of the most important thing anyone's going to do. But I also think you need some folks that are outside of the agencies who can frankly interact with the agencies. Because if you're in charge of a large organization, your time is gone. Like if you're doing your job, then you are going to just be managing your organization and its activities. Whereas a lot of the things that we're going to need to do in New York are going to touch multiple agencies. And when I say multiple, I don't mean like 2 or 3, it might be like 5 or 6. So you need people who are a little bit more flexible in their time and independent to be able to corral some of the resources. And some of these resources are going to be outside of the city agencies themselves. They're going to be in the private sector, the tech sector. So I want to unite a number of people to be able to not have their hands full administering massive organizations. Does that make sense to people?
I love that.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to have more deputy mayors than any other mayor before me, but I think that's the right move.
Very cool. Very innovative. We are at $6,402. Exciting. I do have a question here for Evelyn. Anna asks, what has it been like to watch Andrew run for president and now mayor? And this might be our last question.
Well, I mean, it's a pretty good last question. But go ahead. I don't know the answer to this one, obviously.
I look at people as in a mostly positive way. Like we went through like one twilight zone to another twilight zone to another twilight zone. So it was like, the presidential into the pandemic and then into this mayoral race. And it's just like, this is not normal for, for people. But luckily, now I feel like I and our family, we've had some practice with it. He's so invigorated when at the prospect of like helping people and doing good and seeing, he's always full of energy, but like seeing it focused on something that could have such a tremendous impact, I think is an incredible blessing. It's incredible, example and role model for our children. Seeing dad kind of like get out there every day and do this and talk about different issues. Yeah, it's really, it has its downsides in that like he's gone a lot and obviously there's just like campaign insanity, but for the most part, it's like, when he was in the presidential as the underdog and now in the mayoral as the front runner, it's just been, it's been exciting. It's been exciting and inspiring. So
thanks, baby. I just want to you know how incredibly grateful I am to you every day because I couldn't do any of this without you. And like the family is genuinely doing great, but it's doing great because of Evelyn. So thank you, baby. Like really, you're such a rock star and rock. Love you.
That's so sweet. Oh, that's so sweet. I feel like I need to turn away. No, that's so sweet. I love that. I'm sure it's so much better to have him running for office in your hometown, you know? Like,
To see the family every morning and night is
Yep.
tremendous. You know,
Yeah.
nothing compares
That,
to
that's a big.
yeah.
that.
So,
I felt so bad. I'd be like, it's like Tuesday. I'd be
He
like,
was always in Iowa.
I'll be back Sunday
Yeah.
for half a day before I. No,
Then he would have to talk about how great the pizza was in Iowa. And
the was not.
I've had it. It's not.
It's not New York, but I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, I don't know about the rest of you. It's
Yeah.
like, have you really found a pizza you didn't like? And
Yeah.
then you go to a place and like, like not New York, but
Right.
I mean, when in Rome, right? When in Rome.
we have a couple shout outs. Thank you. Go ahead.
Greg.
Greg from Brooklyn, Lily, and Yuri from New York. You all are incredible.
Thank you.
Greg.
Thank you so much. Yes. Well,
Amazing. That's right. I was like, is that a typo? No.
it has been really a good time being on this live stream with the two of you. You're such a wonderful couple. We're so fortunate to have you. Hopefully you will be, we know you will be the next mayor of New York City and the first lady of New York City. Do you have any last thoughts before we close it out?
You go first, baby, and then I'll.
I just want to say thank you. You know, we're here because of all of you guys, and we are so grateful. I mean, we're in the home stretch, and we're just going to be counting on you guys more than ever. So all of that support, all of your good energy, it feeds us every day. It drives us. It keeps us going, keeps me going. So thank you. Thank you.
Al, thank you again, Evelyn. It's so much more fun doing it with you, baby. Who else have I done these things with? Whoever they were, couldn't hold a candle. But also just so grateful and really excited. I think we're going to win this race, but we can't let up. Like, we have to roll up our sleeves and do the work and call and volunteer and mail. I mean, that's me. I mean, probably will mail, not you. You won't be mailing. I was thinking of different ways to reach people. Donate, bug our friends, not leave anything to chance. So the mechanics of this race for people, the last mayoral race, 750,000 New Yorkers voted in the primary out of 3.2 million registered Democrats. So that's 24%. That's not very high. And there are a lot of people who, frankly, make it their business to make sure that they win on these elections, particularly folks who are in unions that are very, very interconnected with the government. So if you look at someone like Eric or Scott, you can bet that they're going to have a really good, tight organization in terms of getting out the vote. Even if it's not their organization, it could easily be like one of their union partners. And so we don't have that, being very frank. I think we're in great position to win because we have a lot of energy and a lot of appeal, and more New Yorkers want to vote for me than